It's time for another episode of All Right Bet. All right, everybody. Hey, it's time for another episode of All Right Bet. We're back. We're keeping this thing going every week. As you can see on your screen, my guest and my co-host for this week is Dunbar Dicks, but you guys know Dunbar.
Bam, 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 bam.
He's got the Tennessee Vols going. No stake in the game this week, but love the fandom, brother.
Always, man. Always got to listen. I got to let the people know where I'm coming from, I don't want them to have any misgivings about, what my bias is. It's there.
Yeah. You got to let them know, man. You got to let them know. Now, if you guys are just jumping on the YouTube episode here for the Big Six Picks, and you're wondering, hey, where the hell is Andy? He's been getting me paid. You listen to the first half, you know where he's at, but Dunbar, this is what's going on with Andy. He's got a bunch of family in town, and here's his message just right now.
All right, Mikey, sorry I'm not there this week, but I got to go to Disneyland. You know how it is. The mouse is calling, and I got to go.
The mouse is calling. He's got the baby. They're going to Disney World. They're doing the thing, man. But he sent his picks in. We're going to get to those in a few minutes here.
Okay.
So he'll be with us for the contest. You're ready for the games. I'm ready for the games.
Yes.
Before we get to that, let's jump into this college football playoff thing that is absolutely nuts right now, right?
It's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I'm gonna tell you I'm enjoying it a little bit for one reason, then I'm gonna let you hold the mic down. I'm enjoying it a little bit because years ago when they went to this and on the show, I've been preaching college football championship used to be the greatest because for the most part, you had true champions crowned. It wasn't like a March Madness tournament. You had like the best of their conferences would play each other for the championship. And I always thought they should just go to 6 teams, all Power 5 conference championship game winners, and one at-large bid. And everybody scoffed at me. And now this year, everybody's like, they love how crazy it is this year because it looks like all the conference champions deserve to be in. Don't we want to just see these teams play each other?
Yes. I mean, I think it's like, and here's where it gets tough because it's the NCAA and the old BCS used to always be like this. Is like this controversy, like all the hubbub and conversation about like all these undefeated teams or 11-1 teams up top helps college football because we're sitting here talking about it. If there was a 12-team playoff, which is that next year? Or the year
it's
after.
coming, and it's so stupid. So stupid.
If it was a 12-team playoff, we would be like, oh, okay, yeah. These teams are going to get in. We're going to see how it goes, and obviously the games would be great. And there's an argument to be made that that's a better option for them because we'd be talking about the games and not about who's getting in.
Money.
But this is the news story right now. This weekend is like. Does Alabama, I mean, I know we're going to get into it, but like if Alabama beats Georgia, does that put Alabama and Georgia in?
It's going to be crazy if that happens, man. It's crazy. And let's jump onto that money thing for a minute because that's what's driving this train right now. Yeah. And I like to point out how you can tell what's going on behind the scenes by listening to the pundits on these television shows who are paid to say what the corporations want them to say. I don't care what you think of the people on ESPN or what they are saying what they're told to say. And when they start branching over into statements like today, I heard Orlovsky going on and on about it's not the committee's job to pick the 4 teams that are most deserving. It's their job to give us the best games. And I'm like, what bullshit corporate message is that? That's not their job. That's not their job to give us the best games.
That's so weird because it like takes the sportsmanship out of all of this. And it seems like the veil of entertainment level of engaging audiences has gone off the rails as opposed to like what teams deserve to be there.
That's the whole point, right? Like who deserves to be there? And now we're getting sound bites from pundits on TV going, that's got nothing to do with it. What's going to give us the best games? That's money talk, man. That's pure money talk.
Yes, it is. Money has like corrupted all of the things that like work and are great. Like the reason why the BCS went away was because, and the single championship series went away was because of that, was because it was like, you didn't get the two best teams in the game. You got like 1 and 2, or there was always a third that was left out. Could you imagine if we were doing one championship this year?
Oh, it'd be, I don't know that they could do it. You couldn't do it. It'd be absolutely ridiculous. It just would be ridiculous, man. And
I mean, we could go back to the 80s and you could just have like, you know, the bowl games, and then at the end there was a coaches poll.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like,
know?
So we have gotten better, but at some point we don't need to continue to evolve. Then you turn into a mutant. And then you're storming the city and smashing buildings. It's not the way it should go, man.
I think an 8-team playoff is fair. You know what I mean? It's like the top 2 teams get buys, and then you like, you know what I think that solves a lot of it, because I think the one problem with college football has always been, if your team loses 2 games, you're done. And then drop off
is the great thing about it.
Is it?
Because you could still get to your conference championship game and win it. So like for you this year, Tennessee's got what, 3 losses, 4?
Yeah.
Right. But if it lined up to where they won the big games they were supposed to, and they were playing Georgia this weekend, you're not tuned in because they can't make them. Even if they beat Georgia, they're not getting in. You're into it. You're into it.
Yeah.
Right. So
of course,
I think that is also the great thing about it. Why is it was so pure. And now you've got things being leaked from this committee that they're staunchly against Florida State because of the injury to Travis. Like the committee is leaking, hey, we don't want this team in with a backup quarterback. And I'm like, stop, time out, stop. That's not your job. Okay. You're like HR. It's not your job to run around hoping for people to get fired. It's your job to send out the message that the rules are the same for everyone here, regardless of what happens. And we continue on that path and we keep this ship.
Crazy.
Like, it's not their job to be rooting against Florida State right now.
What if a backup quarterback comes in and wins the championship?
It's you know what I mean? Football. That's backup quarterbacks happens. From the portal are $1 million quarterbacks right now.
Yes.
This isn't the NFL where it's like, well, the guy that's second, it's because he's not good enough to do anything. No, the guy that could be second on any one of these rosters now in the NCAA was the starter somewhere else and came here to fight for the job. He's probably good.
Yeah. Or he's a blue chip that came out of high school. I know we don't do blue chips anymore, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
or how about this, Dunbar? How about even the bigger point? How about all the other kids in that program that have been busting their ass for the last 2 years to try to get to this point for Florida State where they're undefeated with a chance to go to the playoff. And now you want to say all you kids and everything you've done doesn't matter because the star's out. Bullshit. That's such bullshit, man.
Yeah. And how much of what's happening at some of these programs is because of one player? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like the revolving door of quarterbacks at Georgia and Alabama should speak to how that overall system and talent level there,
correct,
creates those opportunities.
Correct.
Because, so I think I think that there should be a larger playoff. I don't know if I want a 12-team playoff, but I think that, it should be. I think that there's a way to do it that feels fair where we're talking about the games and not talking about the controversy. Although I think that there is a cynical point of view to have that the controversy helps drive viewership in the NCAA.
It does. And it's all about dollar bills. And, I used to listen, I'm still in the mind of, I think 6 is the best. And especially now that the Pac-12 is dead. So it's the Power 4. So you get automatic bid for the 4 conference champions and 2 at-larges. That's all you need.
I don't mind that. I mean, would you put a buy-in for the number 1 and number 2 teams in the average rankings? So they would they wouldn't play out of the conference championship, and then the rest of the teams would have to play in based on their record.
Yeah, as far as seeding or whatever, you know what I mean? But like that would solve all our problems this year. Because all 6 teams that are in the mix right now would get in. Mm-hmm. And, we would have a great playoff this year. I think that's the best way to look at it. And then but here's my catch that everybody always wants to scoff at, but I'm about the kids and I'm about the sport. I would have one asterisk in there that says if any group of 5 team goes undefeated and wins their conference championship, they get an automatic at-large bid. So if you got like a Tulane rolls the table, like Liberty this year, Liberty, if they go undefeated and win their conference, they get to go to that 16 playoff. They deserve it.
Yeah.
They deserve it. But you're going to pitch me on a 3-loss LSU team.
They will get destroyed.
They might. Look at everybody says that's one of the biggest arguments for this year about not wanting Florida State to get in, because if Florida State gets in, and this is the information being leaked, they're arguing in the committee. If Florida State, even if they're undefeated, let's have Texas jump them if they beat Oklahoma State, because Florida State with a backup quarterback is going to be the 4th seed and go play Georgia, and they're going to get blown out. So we don't want to see that. What? Is Georgia not going to blow Texas out maybe as well? Number one. And number two, let me throw this at you. Wasn't that TCU last year, guys? And they were going to get hammered 17-point dogs to Michigan. They blew Michigan out. Let's play the games.
But they still got destroyed.
Everybody got destroyed by Georgia. Who wasn't Georgia going to destroy last year, right?
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm an SEC guy. Like, I think Alabama and Georgia should be in the playoffs no matter what, you know.
Well, not if Alabama loses, but I hear you.
Well, yeah, not if Alabama
2 losses, you're out.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Let's get to it. What do you think? You think if Bama loses to Georgia, they should still be in?
No, I don't think. If Bama loses to Georgia, they'll be out. I don't think there's no woulda, shoulda, and how I feel about it doesn't matter, because I do think you should have 2 SEC teams in there. But no, I think that if Bama loses, they will be. Of course you do. That's, you know what I mean?
It's deserving, but
will Michigan beat an SEC team without selling their hand signals to another?
Now you've got that a bit mixed up. Michigan wasn't selling the hand signals. That's what Michigan responded to the allegations with. Everyone in the conference is trading hand signals back and forth. They said that like Maryland had sold Ohio State some signals, or anyway, there's a whole nother story brewing up right now.
What needs to really happen is they need to have the microphones in the helmet so the quarterback
easy.
But one to stop this, but 2, because you can run more pro style offenses.
Sure.
In college football, which my brother-in-law would hate because he hates pro football opposed to college football. It's not as creative, but you would have quarterbacks would be able to prepare more for the NFL with that system, because you could do
100%.
more complicated things.
It's a simple fix, but the NCAA couldn't put a Band-Aid on a paper cut. They're the worst organization.
Well, they're just so conservative. It's like and that's my problem with all football administration. It's just so conservative and not imaginative at all in terms of how to solve certain problems.
Yeah, they don't want to do anything. They just want to sit around and collect money. It's like they screwed everything up with this NIL deal because that was the easiest solution to keeping all their profits. But that's a whole nother episode and a whole nother show.
What just happened? Brought to you by the Sports Authority. At the Sports Authority, you can gear up to look just like a pro, from little tacks to full-grown adults. But they can't help you play like one if you're not any good. So don't suck. That's the Sports Authority, a Chapter 11 company. Welcome back to Wee Paris for the final heat in the indoor French championships. And the man lining up behind the pole is none other than the favorite, Pasquale Larocque. They call him the Magic Man because once the pistol blows, poof, he's gone in a puff of smoke. A clean start. And there he goes, taking off on the heat. He'll start to pull away, and it looks like Larocque has done it again. Ha-ha! Alakazam! And just like Quibi, he disappeared immediately without any warning. Everybody's baffled. Well, let's try and take a closer look without revealing any industry secrets. We see as he crosses the finish line, everybody looks up to the clock for their times, and he disappears right through a trapdoor. Oh, David Copperfield. He leaves everybody scratching their heads. Even the finish line judge is trying to find out where he disappeared to. But like any sorcerer worth his salt, he'll never tell. Put him on the milk carton. He vanished into thin air. Oh, what just happened?
But let's jump into this playoff thing a little more now.
Yeah.
With Florida State, if they win and go undefeated, they have to be in the playoff.
Yeah, but I just don't. I debate whether or not they're going to win this game.
It's going to be a close one. That's one of our picks. That is one of our picks we're going to get to. It's going to be a tough game for them. But here's what I'll say as well about Florida State, and then I'll save it for later on the picks.
Yeah.
The big thing I keep hearing everybody saying is, well, it's all about resume. It's about your strength of schedule. And like a one-loss Alabama team right now has played way more teams in the SEC, and the ACC is not that great this year. So, they don't really have a lot of signature wins. But you see, they don't say that. They don't say they don't have a lot of signature wins. They always say the majority of the teams they beat weren't that good, because they don't want them to be in. They won't tell you, but also let us tell you, even though the ACC is down, Florida State didn't schedule a bunch of patsies. They put LSU and Florida on their schedule this year and beat them both.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. They don't want to talk about that. They want to talk, well, they beat up on Boston College and don't give me your reasons that, try to just pad your point you're trying to make, right?
Yeah.
They blew out LSU.
They did. That was the first game of the season, though, and those games tend to get a little weird. But I do think, LSU's a very good team.
Yeah.
And they beat them. Could they beat them again? I don't know. And the other part of it, too, is like, I'm just looking at their schedule right now. Pitt is not horrible, and they really handedly, beat them. And Duke is a good,
Duke was good. Clemson's Clemson. Look, they're not powerhouses this year, but there's North Carolina. There's a lot of teams in the ACC that are good this year.
Florida is not.
Listen, you went to the Swamp with a backup and won in a rivalry game. This team is deserving.
Okay, I'm convinced. I would like to see Florida State. And let's see how this Louisville game goes. If they win this game against Louisville, I think that they have a shot. But I think it's also like it depends on who, if Oregon beats Washington. We could talk for like 3 hours about all of the speculation this week. If you're not watching college football on Saturday, you're not a college football fan.
You're a knucklehead. I'll tell you that right now.
You're crazy.
It's just foregone conclusion here. Michigan is in. They're going to beat Iowa, probably beat the doors off them, and Michigan is in. So that's one guaranteed team to be in. And I'm going to tell you right now, I think there's two. Even if Georgia loses to Bama, they're in.
Yeah, I think Georgia did. Even because Bama is that's such a tough game for me to call right now. And should we talk about it? Because it's hard for me to not jump into what my takes are. The Bama game is really tough. The 6-point spread it's so on the edge in terms of where I think this is going to go. But is Bama's front four going to be healthy, and are they going to be able to get pressure is really what it comes down to for me. Because I think, Georgia hasn't really faced a rush like that. And I don't know it's such a toss up, but I think if Georgia loses to Bama and it's a tight game and it's a high scoring game, if Georgia gets blown out, I think there's an argument to be made for them, for Alabama being in the playoff and Georgia maybe not.
I will agree with you there because probably not going to be the case. But let's say in a crazy world, Georgia just has one of those games where they can't hold on to the ball, 4 fumbles, 3 picks, and Bama just beats them, 42-20 or something. Yeah, probably not going to happen though, right? If Bama wins, they're going to win by less than that 6 points they're being given anyway.
Yes.
And I'll say this, for me, that Vegas line being at 5 or 6 for this game is telling me Vegas knows people like to bet on Bama, and they're not going to give you the 7 points because all the money is going to be coming in on Saban. So that tells me Vegas is pretty confident Georgia's going to win by a score.
Saban's 4-1 against against Georgia in the last, 5 meetings. And
Yeah.
it is, I want to say Georgia is going to take it and maybe beat the spread. Like that's what I want to say, but I just that's the beauty of what Vegas is doing here with this point spread,
That's
which
exactly
is like
what it is.
that is the toughest call this out of the picks that we're making right now.
It is a tough one, but I will tell you this, and this isn't tipping my hand on what I'm picking in this game, but I've got some bets in on Bama on the money line. I'll tell you that. I'm not going to miss out on that if they pull off this upset. The odds are good. And, like we talked about a little bit in part one, if you're going to put Bama on the money line and put them with Louisville on the money line, you got 2 dogs that could win. It pays well, but I digress,
Well, what is look, I'm going to say Georgia, and I'm going to say it's a high scoring game. I'm going to say it's going to beat out this point spread. And I think that I would take Georgia with the points. I would take Georgia with the spread. I think that God, as I'm saying that out loud, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, you got to think on that one for a minute, man. Now, let me throw this at you while you're thinking about it. Let me throw this at you. Now, let's say Bama wins this game and they're the SEC champ. Okay. Yeah. Texas wins out and they're the Big 12 champ. Yeah. Who gets to go? Texas beat them in Tuscaloosa.
No, Bama
they both got one loss, and Texas beat them.
No, Bama goes.
Texas beat them at Alabama. Now, see, here's where it gets into people picking who they think they like or who they think is a better football team. And so it's always about, well, I think they're a better team. That's why
saying that Bama's not going to go and Georgia's going to go even after Bama beats Georgia in the SEC title game.
I'm saying there is a world where that is going to be very thoroughly discussed if Texas wins out and Washington beats Oregon and they're undefeated and Florida State wins out and they're undefeated. We're going to have to sit down and it's going to come down to somebody's got to be out here. Who?
Yeah. And who?
Texas beat them. Texas beat them at Alabama. You got a hard time selling me. Now, the flip side to that coin is a very legitimate point to say, but yeah, Bama has the biggest win of the season of anybody. And they will. And it's like, boy, if we just had a 16 playoffs, wouldn't be a problem, would it?
Yeah.
But that's tough, man. If Bama beats Georgia, we are going to be in a hot mess.
Yeah, and I didn't watch that Texas game, so I don't know how that game played out, but it doesn't look like a blowout from the box score. You know what I mean? So
I was at it. I went to it in person.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Yeah, I was at the game, went and saw the game. Texas manhandled them up front. I mean, their offensive and defensive line manhandled Alabama, and that's where Alabama has improved in the second half of the season. Milroe's playing a lot better, and that young offensive line is finding themselves and playing a little better. I think that's the key against Georgia this week is how that offensive line handles Georgia's D-line.
Well, the other thing, too, is that Milroe has those gashes towards the middle of the line, right? So, like, as the front four kind of drives, as the tackles are driving people out and away, he's able to like escape the pocket and do that type of stuff. I think that I'm just curious to see. It's really going to come down to like the front four on both teams, and if Georgia's going to be able to handle that pass rush, and if the Alabama's pass rush is going to be what it's supposed to be, and that's kind of. It sounds super cliched, but it's really going to come down to like
that's the real world, man.
Alabama's pass rush. Is Alabama going to be able to get to the quarterback and disrupt that Georgia offense?
Yeah, they're
going to lose. I think
if they can get to Beck enough, they can create some problems. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
Now let's talk a little bit about the Pac-12 championship game here. Mm-hmm. If Washington wins, beating Oregon twice, and goes undefeated, they're locked. You got to put them in the playoff.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Now, yes, 100%.
Right. That's an easy choice.
Yeah.
Now, let's say Oregon beats Washington and beats them by like what some people think is going to happen, like by almost 20 points. People are thinking they're going to double up on them.
Yeah.
I don't know where it's coming from, but the line is showing it. They're a 10-point dog. Washington is having already beat Oregon. But
well, on paper, Oregon looks better than Washington in like
that,
every single position
but
group
see,
almost.
that's
Except
my
for maybe wide
thing.
receiver. Yeah.
That's my thing constantly is it's like this eye test that people want to be, well, Oregon just looks better. Why? Because they're bombing a bunch of scrub teams, and then when they play good teams, they're kind of in a game with them. Like,
Mhm.
because they roll the score up on bad teams. Didn't you just make, not you, but college
Yeah.
football people, didn't you just make the argument to me that, well, Florida State was just beating up on bad teams? That's what Oregon's doing. I'm not saying
Yeah.
Oregon ain't good, but they want to have their cake and eat it too with their arguments. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I think Oregon's good, but I'm
But
like,
if you eliminate the turnovers in that game, that first game with Washington, does Oregon lose that game?
I don't know. Washington had their issues on offense until the fourth quarter there. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and then Oregon had the game locked up and their defense shit the bed, and Penix went right down and scored and won the game in like what, a minute and 20 or something? Like,
But
Oregon took the lead with a minute to go and blew it.
Yeah. I just don't know if that happens again. And you're playing in Vegas. You're not playing in Washington. I think that I like Washington. I like the Huskies. I like that team. I think they're really appealing. I think Oregon beats them and beats the spread. I think it'll be high scoring, but I just don't.
Okay. So
see.
So if you got Oregon beating them, so now you got one loss Oregon, who just beat number 3 or 4 Washington.
Mm-hmm.
One loss Oregon has just had a huge win against Washington, an undefeated team.
Yeah.
Texas wins the Big 12 with one loss and a huge win over Alabama at Alabama.
Yeah. I have a big mess.
You got a hot mess, man. Now,
yeah,
Georgia
I'm rooting for
business.
chaos, baby. I'm rooting for the chaos.
That's everybody's rooting for chaos.
Here's the statistic that makes me lean on the Oregon side, and I'm sure a lot of people have said this, but Oregon is number 3 in the nation in third down conversion. Washington's defense in third down conversion is like 93%, like 93rd in the nation in terms of they're giving it up. If that's happening, I just don't see how, Washington's able to hold out against Oregon. And if the roles were reversed, and Oregon had beaten Washington in that game, which, that game was a toss-up until the very end, I think, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right?
Well, of course not. You'd be having it the other way around. If Washington could beat them, could they get in with one loss? But here's the thing with this game this weekend too, though, is I'm most interested in this game probably just from a coaching standpoint, because these two teams did play extremely tight game, as we just discussed. I'm interested to see what Oregon does coming into this game plan wise. Do they just roll into this thing like, no, we had it right the first time and we just blew it at the end on defense, stick to the plan, do what we did, let's roll?
Yeah.
Or are they going to have some major adjustments? And on the Washington side, this is their first opportunity, because down the stretch here, Washington has run into some games where everybody's like, no, they just don't look as good anymore. And it's been kind of tight. Everybody's been throwing all kind of crazy different defensive looks and schemes trying to slow that offense down. This is going to be Washington's first chance to roll into a game with, we know how they played us.
Yeah.
We got the film. We know how they played us. Can they turn that offense up and explode and take advantage of Oregon? This is from a coaching standpoint, I fucking love this game. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, it really just depends on is Washington going to be able to air it out? I mean, they had, I don't know how good Oregon's secondary is. I apologize, because I just don't know the team as well as I should to be able to comment on this. But the Washington wide receiver group is just incredible. Are those guys going to turn it on? Yeah. And if they're able to turn it on and they open up the field, I mean, and get big chunk plays, that's gonna make it very, very hard on Oregon.
It is. And this is the best defense Oregon's ever had to go with that high power offense. It just is.
Yeah.
So they've got a chance now, but like you said, Washington's got to find a way to try to hold the ball a bit, but they want to air it out and score. So this thing, I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be such a chess match from the sidelines that this one's going to be extremely exciting to me. But so many teams, so many teams in the mix here, man, for this playoff. It's going to be nuts.
I'm just curious, like, what game are you more amped to see? Georgia, Alabama, or Oregon, Washington?
Oregon, Washington. I know what to expect in the Georgia-Bama game. We're going to have the best recruited and paid for players in the country on both sides of the football. You're going to have $100 million worth of NIL money on the field and well paid for. And they're just going to line up and they're going to see who can smash who better.
Is Nick Saban still trashing NIL, or has he figured it out now and he's okay?
And all these guys are really still trashing it, and like they sound like crybabies coming from guys like Saban and stuff. Like, what, you've been buying players forever. Now that it's legal and everybody else gets to be on the up and up with it. Listen, I get that, but I don't know if you heard the other day they were asking Matt Rule from Nebraska. Excuse me. They were asking him about the way the NIL works now and what a quarterback is worth in the portal, because that K-State quarterback is in the portal and everybody's going, oh, it's going to be like, it's up to $2 million right now to get him. Yeah. And I think Matt Rule made a really great point. He said, this isn't the NFL. The NFL is working on salary caps. You got us down here in college. Like, these boosters can spend all the money they want, and every team, they can spend all the money they want. But more importantly, they can just go buy a player off another roster. That's not something you could do anywhere else either. Like, that's not right. He was like, that's not right.
And if you're in Alabama, what else are you going to spend your money on? There's not,
I think he made a great point. He's like, you can have a coach come in, recruit a kid, develop him at quarterback, do a really great job bringing this kid to the next level that he thought he could get to. And then as soon as he does that, somebody else like Alabama comes in and buys him for $2 million. And then that coach is sitting there with nothing. He's fired because the team ain't that good, and he lost his quarterback. You shouldn't be able to walk in.
But has that been happening? I mean, I just don't know if that's happening.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like, kids coming out of the transfer portal are typically leaving because they're not getting opportunities to start, and they envision themselves in the NFL. So if a coach is, but I get it. It's like, if you're in year two, like Nico, for instance, at Tennessee, if he goes into next year and he's not starting, I can understand why he would transfer. And UT has put millions of dollars into Nico
but that's not a problem. That's not a problem, though. Right?
No, because Milton's gone, thank God.
Well, but I mean, if that kid's not playing, like if you're a backup and you hit the portal and they want to pay for you to go somewhere, that's a different story. You know, I'm talking about, and that's how it kind of was. But now it's turning into, if I have a good season, listen, I got to jump in the portal and get paid right now.
It's free agency.
It's free agency. I got to jump in and get paid. And case in point to what you were saying, look at my man, the quarterback from Wake Forest last year. He jumps in the portal, gets his big ass payday, goes to Notre Dame. And what happened to Wake this year? Last year, I believe they were in the ACC championship game. What'd they do this year?
Yeah.
Garbage. Because Notre Dame come in and bought their quarterback.
But this is the abscess of what the NFL does, which is it uses college football as a farm system. College football is not its own, and it's drifted more and more towards that. College football is not exist in a vacuum, right? It exists now very much leaning towards this sort of farm system for the NFL, right? It's like these players are being
always has been
coached, always has been to a degree, right? It's like college football has always been its own entity, but with the NIL and how players are moving around and how these players are like going, okay, well, I'm not doing well here. I'm going to use the transfer portal to get out of here. That kind of changes the dynamic to a degree in terms of how college football works, right? And so if you're not making a big bet on a player and that player rises through the ranks within your system, and then they do what you're talking about and moving out, and it's free agency, that says to me that college football is emulating more what the pro level. It's at the player level now a business
without rules and guidelines.
Yeah, without rules and guidelines.
In the NFL, there are rules and guidelines to how much money you can spend, how long until you can be a free agent, who you can talk to before you're a free agent, who you can talk to once you become a free agent, if they get a chance to match and sign you. There are all these protections in line for the NFL. College football, it's like, oh, hey, man, I'm in the portal. Highest money.
You're pro NIL salary cap. That's
From minute one, before they even agreed to NIL, I laid out a program on the show that I was for, and I said it absolutely should be capped from minute one. You should not be able to have $1 million in NIL money as a freshman in college. No way. You're just allowing them to buy players, and it should go up in increments every year, and all the money you can make should go up in increments every year, because you know why? Who that helps? That doesn't help college football, and it doesn't help all the other people that want to make money off the TV and stuff. It helps the kids, because then somebody like Caleb Williams at USC this year, he'll be in a position to, man, I'm going to make more money my senior year at USC than going into the pros right now, and I'm going to get my degree.
Yeah.
These kids would stay in school.
Yeah.
College
He's
football
would
would become
be drafted
better
by the Bears.
He might do it. He might have the opportunity to do that anyway. But I was saying that years ago, it would make college football imminently better if you had a bunch of 4th and 5th year stars, not just seniors, stars that stuck around because they're making more money than a rookie deal. What would college football look like? It'd be great.
It would be great. It would be great. I think it's so tough though, because it's like we've all seen these injuries that happen on the college football level. I mean, that Willis McGahee, it's still in my mind.
Yeah.
I showed it to my wife I think there was an injury that happened on Monday Night Football like a while back. And I was like, oh my God, that's Willis McGahee level. She was like, what is that? And I showed her the link. She almost threw up.
Oh, it's bad. It's bad.
It's bad. And you see that and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
And they're kids, but also make no bones about it. These kids have been in a system to eventually be a pro level athlete. A lot of them.
Sure.
From very early on.
Sure.
Like 8th grade.
A lot of them have been. A lot of them have been the stars, but there are so many other players on 100 and something Division I football teams that are not that guy. And I think that these rules are benefiting the 2%, and all the other kids, it's hurting them, especially high school kids. They're not recruiting high school anymore. You're just not, especially on the offensive and defensive line. I saw it firsthand with what my son had to go through with a lot of recruiting. Coaches are just like, what? When I can go in a portal and get a 21-year-old kid to play on the offensive line right now, what the hell am I going to go get an 18-year-old kid and have to develop him for?
Yeah, you're getting 26-year-old quarterbacks being drafted in the
you're
first
just not
round of the NFL.
You're just not doing it, man. And to the Willis McGahee point, like, how many guys are as good as Willis McGahee here in college and then wind up in the pros as a running back, especially, and you don't even last 2.5 years? It's not for long. You only play 2.5 years at running back. Now, if McGahee was in a system where that senior year or that last year he was at Miami, he was making millions of dollars on his NIL deal, and then he gets his knee hurt like that, he's better set for life.
Yeah, he is.
You know what I mean?
But I think it's like having a cap on NIL kind of makes sense a little bit, just in the sense of like, you may democratize it a little bit more. So you can't put all your money after, you can't put $2 million after one player.
Yeah.
And then just be like, well, fuck it. We'll just recruit the rest of them or pull the rest of them in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You know what I equate it to for like people that maybe aren't sports minded is like Silicon Valley and the tech boom. Remember like when that was first happening, it was just like anybody that had an idea, you better pay for it and get it before it blows up. And they were just spending billions on trash. And then what happened? That whole thing blew up, melted down, and now it's very like, we better go into some of these things a little more conservatively. That's what's going to happen here with this NIL.
But you put a cap on it, and it's just going to go back to Alabama and Georgia and all of these, Michigan and all of these teams.
They're all going to cheat any damn
cheating
way. They're all going to cheat anyway. They screwed it up by making it NIL. It should just be, what I pitched was, it should be revenue sharing. There should just be a basic formula to guys who start, guys who don't, how much you make per practice. If you play this much, you get that much. And it all goes into an account that you get to have after you graduate.
Yeah. I mean, if like, a star quarterback on a SEC team is making 6 figures, that's not terrible.
No. Right. You know what I mean? And then that money goes into a managed account, and then that guy gets his degree. And because again, we're talking about, well, that's not fair to the Caleb Williamses of the world. That's the 1%. There are 98% of these kids playing Division I major college football that ain't playing in the NFL and ain't going to make millions of dollars, but their efforts are going into the cog here for all this money, aren't they?
Yeah, but then you have the other side of it, which is these schools are making money hand over fist.
Hand over fist. And the linemen should get some of that damn money too. You know what I mean? Like,
spoken as a father of an offensive lineman.
Well, but it's true. You don't see no lineman in the portal getting $1 million. You don't see no kid that's been a lifer on special teams and he's the best damn kid in the ACC on special teams. That kid deserves some money too, but he ain't gonna get any.
Some of that has to do with how the game has evolved, and that's a whole other conversation. And
sure.
You know, we don't want to get into that, but because I have feelings. But we talked about Georgia. I just want to recap. I'm going to say.
Are you going to give out your pick? Let's get into that then.
Let's
get into that.
My pick.
All right, let's get into a big six pick. Here we go. Let's move into it.
Okay, I'm going to say, I know I've vacillated, but my official pick is I'm going to say Georgia wins the game, but Bama beats the spread so that it's, within 3 on that game. And I'm going to say it's going to beat the point spread. So it's going to be over 53 points total.
Yeah, you're going to take Bama in the over there. Now, before I throw you mine and get to Andy's, I got to break down last week's for everybody here. Now, you remember last week was the Thanksgiving weekend. We didn't have a guest on the show, so we threw it out to you guys, threw it out to the fans. Everybody tweet in your picks, and if anybody was to beat both of us, you got to pick the NFL jersey of your choice. We're going to have it sent to you. And I'll be damned if Brian Hunt didn't tweet in some picks. Brian Hunt tweeted in some picks and went 5-1 and even against the spread. Now, Andy won his best week, man. He went 2-4 -1 on the spread. I went 4-2 +2, a strong showing, man. Hunt beats us. I got to send him out a Patrick Surtain Denver Broncos jersey. It's going to be coming, my man. Well, way to go. But here's the totals on the year so far. Now, right now, Andy's sitting at 32-34, and he's +2 on the over-unders. I'm sitting at 39-27. I'm -15 on the over-unders, but that's just the tiebreaker. I'm not good with the over-unders, but 39-27, I'm doing okay. And the guests combined, which includes you, my friend, the guests combined right now have just taken the lead thanks to Brian Hunt at 40-26 +7. They're 1 game up on me right now, man.
Look, I did not help that out because my picks last time were very bad.
You didn't. I was being nice. You didn't help out, but
it's okay. Look, I pick with my heart. I hear you. Well, but yeah, I do think Georgia's gonna win that game, but Bama's gonna take the under.
Okay, so you're going Bama in the over. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. This is where I'm coming from. This one. Bama, we talked about a little bit. Bama is looking real tough right now. Disregard last week against Auburn. That's a rivalry game, and that is what it is. Milrose looking way better. The offensive line, Young, looking way better. Made those points already. I won't beat that to death. Georgia is Georgia, right? But that's the thing here, man. Georgia's Georgia, except they're not. They're not Georgia this year, right? I mean, they're still probably the best team in the country, but they're not that team the last 2 years that's unbeatable. They're beatable this year. They're very beatable this year, especially by a team like Alabama or even a team like Michigan is going to give them some trouble because they can run the football. So I think Georgia is primed for an upset. I'm taking Bama on some money line picks and stuff like that. But here's the thing right now. I think it's going to catch up to Georgia that they like to play with their food. Andy said that before, and I think that's a perfect analogy for their season. They've been in a lot of close games because they're bored and they play with their food. But that's going to come bite them in the ass, I think. But for this contest, guys, this weekend when I'm gambling, I'm going to be gambling some money on Bama. But for this contest, you don't get to tease it. You don't get anything. You get 1 point for getting it right. So I'm playing it safe here. I am taking Georgia, and I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take Georgia laying the 6, and I'm going to take the under here.
Yeah.
Now Andy sent us in his picks, and he is on hiatus here. Let's see what he had to say.
Georgia -6 at Alabama, 53.5. I like the over. I can tell you that. Give me the over on Alabama, Georgia. I mean, I guess I want to take Alabama, but I'm afraid to be honest with you. So I'll probably, for the contest, I'll take Georgia and I'll take the over. I want to take Alabama though, and if it goes higher than 6, it gets up to 7, 8. Yeah, maybe I'll go on Alabama. But a touchdown, Georgia and the over for sure. Georgia's going to get them, I think.
There it is. Andy is going to take it as well. So that's what Andy's going to land on. That gives you a good spot, though. You're on Bama. You could get out in front of us there. Let's move to the next game, which I already said is going to be my favorite game to watch of the weekend. You got Oregon laying 9.5 to undefeated, already beat them, Washington. The over-under is at 65.5. Now, there's a couple of things that people want to bang home here, Dunbar, right? They want to let you know that Oregon wants to not only win this game, but they want to win this game big to send a message to the committee. Okay, you want to do that. That's great. Nix is playing for the Heisman, right? Bo Nix is playing for the Heisman this weekend. If he lights it up and wins this game, he will be the Heisman Trophy winner. Nix is playing for the Heisman, man. It's all Oregon, and it's showing in the line. I mean, it's 9.5 points right now, but here's the thing. Washington already beat them once, so it's not impossible. Like a 10-point spread, that's what Vegas saying. Like, look, this team's probably going to win the game. I don't get it. Washington's already beat them. It's not impossible. So I'm going to tell you this: Oregon. It feels like I already beat up all that about the game plans and stuff. Why I'm so excited to watch the game. And I'm excited to see how Washington's going to respond knowing that game plan. All right. But everybody has forgotten about Penix at this point. Nobody's talking about Penix anymore at this point. And that's because he plays at 10:30 every night. Every time he's on at 10:30. This kid's good. I like him. No chance I'm taking Oregon laying that many points. They may win the game, but no way. Give me Washington plus the 9.5 and give me the over 65.5 in a shootout. What do you think, man?
I'm almost exactly opposite. I'm going to take Oregon with the 9.5, and I'm going to take the under. I think, look, you're right. If this game is, around high 30s, low 40s in points, Washington has a real shot at winning that game. But I just think that third down conversion rate, what happened in that first game, I just feel like Washington's going to have to thread the needle again to win it. And I just don't think they're going to be able to do it. And I think Oregon's going to come out for the opposite reasons that you're saying in terms of the pressure. I think that Oregon's going to come out and really want to prove themselves, and they're going to have an extra little bit of fight in them.
I cannot say you're wrong. Those are valid points. I think they're good points, man. And it's going to be fun to watch, no doubt. Now let's see what Andy had to say about it.
All right, buddy, for our contest. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be there. I wish I was. But let's get into it. I'm going to make it short. Oregon, 9.5 favorite at Washington. Who's Oregon played? Legitimately. Have they played anybody? I don't know. I don't understand why Oregon's such a big favorite. Yeah, look, Oregon probably going to win, probably. But Washington already beat them. They've already beaten them. This is also helping Washington. So I'm going to take the 9.5. Give me Washington plus 9.5. And give me the under. It feels like an under game to me. It's too many points, 67. I mean, what are we getting at? Last game was 36-33. I don't know. No way. Washington under.
He's on it. He's on Washington and the under. I'm Washington and the over, and you're taking Oregon and the under. So we're all over the board here, man. That one is going to, it's going to be tail of the tape in that thing.
I love Andy's picks from a Disneyland bathroom. That's the.
He
had to run it real fast. He's in the stall doing picks.
Oh, this is a bad one. Hold on, let me change this diaper real quick. Now, Florida State and Louisville. That's probably what's going on. Hilarious, man.
Yeah, I think with the Oregon game, it's this weekend is crazy. So just to be contrarian, I think I'm gonna, I have to say Oregon to beat the points and the under because but I think it's a crazy game.
Yeah, it is, man. Know. It is. Well, here's the last one on the docket for us, NCAA and the Big Six picks. Florida State laying 2.5 to Louisville. 47.5 is the over-under in the ACC championship game. What do you think, man?
I'm taking Florida. I'm taking Florida State. Yeah, for sure. And I'm taking the under because I just don't think it's going to be that high scoring with a backup quarterback in that situation, but I'm still taking Florida State.
Yeah. Well, that's understandable. Like you say, you got a backup quarterback. The thing is, though, Louisville's known to give up some points, so we'll see about that. Andy, what do you think about that live from the Disneyland bathroom?
FSU minus 2.5 against Louisville, 47.5. Overplay. This is definitely an overplay for me. I like Louisville. I'm give me the money line on Louisville for sure. I would money line him. Money line Louisville. I think Louisville. Also, I don't want FSU to win, so I'm going with my what I want. What I think that's Louisville. But if FSU gets it done, I'll be happy for him. But Louisville plus 2.5 over 47.5.
All right, man. There it is. He is on Louisville and the over. So it looks like just you and I probably on Florida State, because you guys, I already told you where I stand on this thing, man. I'm pulling for Florida State hard just because the committee that's supposed to be, fair and unbiased, they're already out to eliminate this team. And one other reason, man, I'm pulling for my man, Big Johnny Wilson, Safe House Family, Calabasas guy from our program. He's their big wide receiver. Yeah. Pulling for him. Listen, these kids have worked their ass off to get to this point. And you don't get to tell them they can't play in the playoffs because of an injury. That's bullshit, man. That's just bullshit to me. And Louisville has been sneaky, streaky. Okay. They've had stretches this season where they played really well, and they've had stretches where they haven't. I mean, last week, I know it's a rivalry game, but they lose to Kentucky, because Kentucky proved they could move the ball on the ground a little bit, hold the ball a little bit, and Florida State can run the football. So this is an opportunity for Florida State to win the game. It's kind of worst case scenario for Florida State that Louisville's coming off of that rivalry loss. Am I right? I mean, they would rather they have won that game and come in swole up. Coming off a loss, this is a Louisville team that's going to be a little hungry. That could be a problem. Everybody also wants to shit on this backup quarterback, Roadmaker. But let me tell you this, man, he's got 2 full games under his belt, and one of them is a win in a big-time rivalry game in one of the most hostile environments of college football. As a Vols fan, the Swamp is no joke, and he goes into the Swamp and wins that game, and everybody wants to say, well, he's not good enough to play in the playoff there. That's bullshit. And if Florida State needs a road to the playoffs, who better than a kid named Roadmaker to take them there?
Great name. It's a great name.
What a great
name.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about how hunched over Andy is in that bathroom. I hope that he sees the doctor.
He's not in a bathroom, man. He's in his garage, man. He sent those in yesterday, guys. He's not in the bathroom. But hey, give me Florida State minus the 2.5 and the over. Now, that's going to take us to our NFL games for the week. Now, I don't know. How have you been doing personally on some NFL games, man?
Terrible, because I'm a homer and my Titans are horrible. Well, so I've been doing terrible. I'm taking the Titans to beat the Colts this weekend. That's how bad I'm doing.
I hope they do.
But I'm emotionally removed from these games. So I'm going to give you my objective opinions about where these games are going to go.
All right. Well, let's start with the Broncos at Houston, and let's have Andy kick us off.
In the NFL games, Broncos plus 3.5 at Houston, 47.5. You know what? The thing about Stroud is he's really good as a dog. He's a good dog quarterback right now. Not a great favorite quarterback. So give me the Broncos plus 3.5. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Denver's kind of making their march to the playoffs. I think I mentioned it's very real that this could happen. So Denver plus 3.5 and that over under. I'm going to take the over. Houston can't really stop anybody.
Okay, there it is. Andy likes Denver and the over. I'm not too far off for him right here. I'm going to be all over the hook. Denver's playing well right now. And if Houston, I'm not saying they haven't been consistent. They've been consistently good. And I'm on the record 3 years ago hoping that the Lions were going to get Stroud. I think he's phenomenal. He's going to be a mega star. But this is the first year. There's going to be some bumps in the road. They've been playing well and winning some games. Denver's hot. Good defense coming in. This is kind of a trap spot for them, I think. I'm also going to roll Denver. Give me that hook, 3.5. But I'm going to take the under in this one, man. What about you?
I am going to go Denver as well. I think that like the system's coming into play, right? Sean Payton is making it work, and Russell Wilson is starting to look a little bit like the Russell Wilson we knew and loved, 4 or 5 years ago. I think Houston, the CJ Stroud story is great, but the AFC South is horrible, and they're not beaten up on, they lost to Carolina. So
Yeah.
I think Denver is coming on. The change of culture is happening there. I think I'm going to take Denver with points, and also but I'm going to take the under. I'm going to take the under. All right. The only way we're going over is if the Broncos score like 35 points, which I just don't think they can do.
No, I don't think so either. And listen, I'm just going to let you hold the mic here. Let's keep rolling with you. And let's take a look at this Kansas City game. Kansas City laying 6, the over-under 42. What do you think in this one?
Oh, my God, dude. I hate this game to pick because it's like you want to go the Kansas City direction, but they have just not – they are not the team that they were last year right now. And I think that the lack of weapons on offense is really catching up to them quite a bit. But – like, do I have faith in Green Bay to I mean, I'm going to take Green Bay to keep it close, and in terms of the points, but I think that it's going to be over. I think it's going to be over.
Okay. All right.
But I do think Green Bay can keep it close.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the wrong call, but I don't know what's happening with Kansas City right now. Like, I can't really put a finger on what team is going to show up this week. Their defense should be great. Should be
the best defense they've had.
Yeah. And it just seems like they're not keeping them in games. And so I don't know what to make of the team.
The offense is struggling real hard. And, you're right about both these teams. Kansas City, bit of a mystery how they're going to show up on offense every single week. And Green Bay is catching a little fire right now. Big Thanksgiving Day win over the Lions, which sucked. I mean, that blew up everybody's damn parlays. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But that is the reason that I'm going to fade Green Bay here. I mean, they're coming off that big win on Thanksgiving Day, primetime win. Usually that team the next week kind of has a letdown just traditionally. And with Kansas City being the team that's coming into town, listen, I'm going to take Kansas City. I'm going to lay the 6, and I think it's going to be an over. I think this is going to be a game where Kansas City's going to find some offense, and I think it's going to be over 42. Jordan Love's playing a little better. I think they'll put a few points up on the board, but Kansas City defense good. But I think this is going to be right around that 42-point line. It's going to be real close. But give me Kansas City laying the 6 and give me the over. That's what I'm going to have in it.
Yeah. I'm curious and I didn't look this up beforehand, but I'm curious what the weather is going to be in that game.
Yeah, but both teams equipped to handle it, right? Both outdoor teams play in the cold. So as long as there's
my point being is that if Kansas City doesn't, I mean, they're proving that they're really lacking at the wide receiver position and with weapons for Mahomes. And if they're not able to air it out, I think that reducing the game down to a big, nasty sort of weather heavy game actually favors Kansas City.
Right.
And so, that's, and we haven't really seen Jordan Love playing in sort of a nasty drag out game yet. So
true.
I would be interested to see how that would affect the spread, and it's getting into that time in Green Bay. So
we're going to see. Let's see what the expert on Kansas City football thinks.
Here's my last one. Here's the last one, baby. Kansas City Chiefs, love them. -6 at Green Bay, 42. First off, it's a Sunday night game. Primetime under. Secondly, we always talk about the Chiefs. These big spreads are a lot. I'm not sure if the same team as it was last few years, they scored 30 on the Raiders. Sure. Can they do it again this week? I'm going to bet against them, right? So I'm going to take Green Bay +6. I'm going to take the under. If I realize this is a game that Chiefs could just destroy me by the end of the first quarter, second quarter, but I'm going to go Green Bay. Green Bay +6. So just so you know, I'm going Washington, and I think I took the under. Georgia and the over. Louisville, and I hope I took the over, but maybe I took the over, but whatever I said. Denver, 3.5, the over. Eagles, 46.5, over. Kansas City, Green Bay, I'll take Green Bay, +6, under 42. Good luck.
Oh, he went out like that. He introed the next damn game for us too and gave us his pick.
Here, I'm gonna say this right now in favor. I'm gonna hold my picks, but I'm gonna say this right now in favor of Andy's picks. It's gonna be 24 degrees and snowing in Green Bay.
Yeah, that changes things.
So
that changes things. I think that's going to move me to Kansas City and the under. Looking up that weather, I'm going to officially switch to the under as well. I like to just pick the over in those games because, and Andy's always right. They're like 23-2 or something. The unders on prime time, but I'm going to jump on the under with you. I'm going to jump on the under with you as well. So everybody now on the under because he talked us into it and introed us right into the next game. So he's all over the Eagles in this next one, and that's our final game of the week here, man. San Francisco is the favorite, laying 3 at the Eagles. Now, what is the deal with that, man? What do you think?
There's no way I'm taking that. I'm all in on the Eagles train. They are on fire. And like the arguments that have been happening in the media and some of like the low level media about them being paper champions, it's like, I just don't see it. I don't know how. I'm taking Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy almost every time. That guy is, I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
Like,
we're going to find out.
But I just think that like the Eagles defense is playing great right now. They have so many weapons on offense. I mean, I just don't know how you hold them down. So I'm definitely taking the Eagles to beat 3 points. I just don't have faith in San Francisco right now. And but I'm going to take the over.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Yes, it's going to be like 27-35.
Yep, I'm with you. I'm absolutely going to take the over as well, my man. Both these teams are going to find a way to put some points on the board, no doubt about it. And I'm not even going to beat it up. I'm going to take the Eagles. I mean, how you taking 11-1, defending Super Bowl appearance, best team in the NFC, defending. They're at home to a Frisco team that has been up and down, playing better now. Purdy's healthy. They got guys back. They are playing better, but this spread is as if this was a week 1 matchup.
Is it like what
week 1? I would have been on it.
What's justifying this spread? Like it's a revenge game for the AFC Championship.
Joe Public money and Joe
what?
Public.
That is
I mean, I don't know, man. This is crazy. This is one of those ones though. And we talk about it all the time on the show here, me and Andy. It's like, this is one of those head scratchers where you're like, this is ridiculous. You want to jump on it right away. And then it bites you in the ass and you go, yeah, Vegas knew something. You know what I mean? It's like, but I'm not buying it. I'm all over the Eagles until I'm not. Right.
Yeah. It's just somebody not playing on San Francisco. Like what?
Yeah. Well, listen, Andy did give us a breakdown of the game too. So we'll see what his breakdown of the game here is as well.
San Francisco at the Eagles, 46.5. San Francisco 3-point favorite. I mean, look, what are we doing? The Eagles have been good to me for a long time, right? They've the last few weeks, they've saved me. If Lane Johnson doesn't play, maybe I would lean over to San Francisco. If he plays, I think that's going to be a difference maker. Yeah, an offensive lineman for sure. So give me the Eagles +3, a home dog 3 against a team they beat last year. Now I get there was no quarterback. Going to be a great game. I like the Eagles. I like the over. It's not a primetime game.
Yeah, there it is. Not a primetime game. So the Eagles and the over for all of us on this one.
There's going to be a touchdown in the last 3 minutes of that game.
Yeah, you think so, huh?
Yes, there's going to be some. It is not good.
Yeah, whoever's got the ball last is most likely going to win the game.
Yeah,
that's probably how it's going to go down. And I don't know. I just give me the Eagles. You're going to give me the Eagles and points at home. You can take my money, and I won't feel bad if I lost because it was the right move. You know what I mean?
Who's your at this point? Like staring down the barrel of the season, like who are your? What were your initial picks at the beginning of the season in terms of who was going to be in the Super Bowl, and where is it out now?
Detroit Lions. Hey, I'm sticking with my guys, man. I'm sticking with my guys. Now, it looks like we're going to be in a little bit of trouble because we're probably going to have to go on the road to Philly. We're not going to have to go on the road to Frisco, I don't think. We're not going to lose more games than they are. They're going to get beat this weekend. They're going to go to 4. They could lose another one down the stretch, 5 losses. We're not getting to 5 losses. So, I don't know, man. I think if we get Frisco at home, we'll beat them. We're going to have to go to Philly and win. That's going to be a tall order. But I'm sticking with my guys, man. I'm sticking with the Lions. Everybody can jump on that Cowboy train if they want right now. Bring the Cowboys up to Ford Field, and we'll show you what time.
Yeah, they're gonna throw 4 interceptions and get bounced out of the first round of the playoffs. I mean, that's what that team is.
I tell you what, though, it's a big game coming up in a couple of weeks here, Dunbar, because the second to last game of the season, the Lions are at Dallas. That could absolutely be one of those games where winner is going to see that exact same team and get home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs. You follow me?
Yeah, the NFL scriptwriters have done a great job this year. They really laid it all out. And
so we may have to go to Dallas and beat them so that we can get Dallas at home in the playoffs.
I mean, the hope for Detroit is right that they are able to win the division and edge out.
That's a lock. That's a lock.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody's catching us in the division right now.
You don't think Minnesota has a shot?
No, they just dumped to the Bears last week, man. That thing's coming back down to earth, and they're still 3-4 games behind us. So
who gets to play the Falcons? That's really the
who
gets to play the Falcons or New Orleans.
It ain't gonna be us. That's gonna be Philly. But you know what I mean? I don't whoever's
or the 49ers, but
Yeah, right. I mean, shit, it could be. It could be. Anyway, that's who I like. I'm sticking with my guys. I'm guys. I'm going to roll that Lions. In the AFC, I think it's wide open, man. I'm telling you what, the consensus pick is to take Kansas City, right? Who else is up there that you like other than Kansas City?
The Ravens.
I think
right. I mean, look, the passing game for the Ravens is schizophrenic, right? But Zay Flowers gets open. They have some pieces there, and they are, the AFC North, as many problems that have been there. You're looking at 4 teams that won. Pittsburgh again.
They're tough.
Another season where they're winning games they shouldn't be winning.
Yeah. They're tough.
And the Browns defense is lights out, and the Bengals are still, they're not playing great, but they're still the Bengals. And that defense is still there. So I think it's I don't know. I think the Ravens are my pick I think Miami have they beat a team that has a winning record?
No. Miami outside Miami I'm not rolling with them. And I'll tell you my problem with the Ravens. Absolutely, they could win the Super Bowl. They're that good.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about this a bunch on the show as well. They're not a team that I'll put money on to back that for right now for a couple of reasons. Every time they're in a tight one, they find a way to blow it horrifically to bad teams, right? And they have a problem playing from behind as well because of their style of play. They're a clock-eating, run-the-ball offense. So when they get out in front of you 14-0 in the first quarter, you're fucked. They're going to beat you, and you're toast. But if you can hang with them or get out in front of them and make them play from behind, they're beatable. They're very beatable, man. We saw that a couple of years ago when Lamar was having an MVP-like season, and they were, 13-3 or whatever, number 1 seed, and they got beaten the first week.
Yeah,
because the Titans got out in front of them with Derrick Henry and ran the ball, and they can't play from behind because they have to run the ball too. So
nice of you to bring up a classic Titans game.
Yeah, man, right? It's a big win. That's a big win, man. I'll tell you a team I like as an outsider right now that I actually just put some money on last week to go to the AFC Championship game and maybe play in the Super Bowl.
Don't say it. I know what you're going to say.
The Buffalo Bills.
Oh,
Buffalo.
I thought you were going to say the Jags.
No. I'm saying the Buffalo Bills. Look at. I said this before they played the Eagles, and man, that was a tough game, and they blew it at the end in Philly. I think Buffalo's the team right now that's finally under the radar. Nobody's talking about them anymore. They can just relax and play football. I think they're going to get into the playoffs, and I think they're going to knock somebody off first round and catch some heat.
I just find it really weird that Buffalo goes through this stretch. They're still 6-6. They may not win the division. They may not catch up to Miami, but they definitely have a wild card berth in them, and they're just as dangerous as anybody else. It's just like, can they go on the road through the playoffs and win, and beat? Can they go to Kansas City and beat Kansas? Yes.
Listen, I think they're the one team that could get in the AFC that nobody wants to see in a home game, right? Like if you're Kansas City and you got home field, you'd rather have Miami coming to town. You don't want Buffalo. They travel. They'll play on the road. They just went into Philly and played tough, right? I think they're a team that everybody's like, I don't want to play them. I think we can beat them, but I don't want to play them,
I mean, my picks for the Super Bowl right now as the season stands would be Baltimore. I mean, this is a lame thing to say. Now that I'm looking at it, it's the teams with the best records in the division in both conferences.
Joe Public, man.
But I think it's Baltimore and Philadelphia. I think that it's Philadelphia's year to win it, clearly.
Sure.
And I don't. But I do think that the case for Buffalo is good, just in the sense that, like, they are under the radar. They can just play football now. They have a high likelihood that they could eke in. I'm going to say this right now, going back to our FSU conversation. I would hate to see Pittsburgh in the playoffs.
Oh, man,
you know what I mean? Like, that would be the Pittsburgh or the Browns in the playoffs would just be the worst.
Well, we'll see this weekend with the Browns with Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, he's old, but their backups have not been able to push the ball down the field at all. Maybe this guy can come in and just give a little. If they just get somebody that can go in there and give them a little consistency and get a couple first downs and let that defense do their thing. Wow. Yeah. I mean, they're in games every week right now, and the offense is abysmal.
Yeah. Remember when Joe Flacco was the highest paid quarterback in the NFL?
After that Super Bowl.
I do think, like, don't sleep on the Broncos. Because it's just kind of a kooky season. It's one of those seasons where it's like, it's going to be, probably some weird teams in the Super Bowl. Or go the other way and it'll just be like the two best teams. I'm not really saying anything right now.
I hear you. But no, you're making decent points though. You are. Real quick before we get out of here, give me the four teams you think make the playoff in the college football.
Georgia.
Okay.
Alabama.
Both. Okay.
Yeah, I'm an SEC guy. Oregon. And Michigan.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take Michigan for sure. They're a lock. I'm going to take Georgia to beat Bama and get in. I'm going to take Florida State to beat Louisville, and they will get in. And then my final team, I am going to say Oregon beats Washington, Texas beats Oklahoma State, and Texas is the fourth team in the playoff. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah. And listen, to your listeners, I'm a chaos agent. Okay? That's just...
I hear you.
Take it for a grain of salt.
Hey, it's gonna be chaos. There's no doubt about that, man.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what the conversations are on the other side of this weekend. I'm sure there'll be a text chain with me, you, and Andy.
No doubt. No doubt.
It's just it's gonna be. I'm hoping for the craziest outcome.
Yeah, right. And I'm gonna tell everybody this: hope for whatever outcome you want. Root for whatever outcome you want, but there's a simple way to figure it out right now. Sit down and look on paper and say which games would be the highest rated and make the most money, and that's who they're going to pick. That's just what they're going to do, man.
Gross.
It is gross. It's what they're going to do, though, man. Well, listen, buddy, I know you're a busy man with busy things going on, and I appreciate you filling in for Andy this week and jumping in, man. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Always fun. I apologize to your listeners. In
for
general.
What? For what?
Because I'm not Andy. And
yeah.
Well, but thank you again. Love it. And I'll see you next time.
Yeah, we will have you back again, brother. We'll see you next time, man.
Cheers.
Cheers, man. It's time for another episode of All Right Bet.